what you expect. Let's get on a roll.
Hey.
It's about time for some quality control.
Super Real Grundy here with the Quality Control Podcast, quality conversations with quality people that influence quality results. Today, my special guest here is Mr. of Firelenz Photography himself, Andrew. Man, thanks for being on the podcast today. So today, what we want to talk about is BYOB, and it's not bring your own beer. It's going to be your own boss. And we're going to talk about that transition because I think we saw a lot of this kind of take place during the pandemic, and I think that it needs to be discussed if you're going to do it, what the process needs to be consist of, and what it takes to actually maintain it. It's one thing to start something, but it's a whole other thing to maintain it. So during the pandemic, we kind of saw how a disruption in the economy can just mess up everything. You know, whether that be, jobs, gas prices, whether that be, just anything. We saw prices tank, and then we saw prices shoot through the roof. Now, along with that, we also saw that a lot of the stable occupations, such as physical therapists and things like that, those people actually got laid off. So the importance of becoming versatile, being a jack of all trades, a lot of people, they take the first part of that saying, a jack of all trades is a master of none, and they stick with it, but they don't finish it. But oftentimes better than a master of one, which means that you have to be versatile. You have to market yourself. You have to have multiple streams of income like me you talked about. So with that being said, a lot of people decide they want to jump off the porch. And, hey, we're going to do this entrepreneur thing, but at the same time, with everything now kind of leveling off, we can see people actually having to pick up the backpack and go to sing, here we go again, back to work. So Firelenz Photography has, been around. You're going to give us the history of that, but we see a lot of great things on social media, what you're doing, and you built that from the ground up, you and your wife. Shout out to her. She's not here today, which is cool. But give us the background of that and how you decided to step off the porch with that, and kind of tell us your whole situation, as far as how it began, where you are with it, and what steps are you taking to make sure you secure its future.
Yeah. So basically, as far as photography goes, trust me, I didn't see myself doing this. But when I met my wife, she was actually a wedding photographer. A lot of people don't know that
Really?
because they see me all the time.
Wow.
Yeah, but she was the one who actually started it. We got together. I guess she got burned out on it, and then she ended up just putting the camera down. So time goes on. I'm in the fire service. I'm working part-time as a paramedic at AMR, ambulance service.
Still.
At this time.
Wow.
Back then I
Right.
was.
Okay.
So I'm working part-time, and I'm making $16 an hour as a paramedic. I went to school for this, got a degree. So I'm like, this ain't cutting it. I got to figure out something I can do to make more money. Now, this is, years ago. So, I didn't have that multiple streams of income at the time. I just had the one job. So, well, the two jobs, one didn't pay anything. But so I was like, you know what? My wife's family, they're a family full of entrepreneurs. They literally all are entrepreneurs. Wow. Got their own businesses. So I didn't come from that background, but I learned quickly that's what the entrepreneurship is the way to go.
Wow.
So that's what I did. I was like, you know what do I know how to do that I can charge people money for? So I'm like, I picked up a camera, and the rest was history. Like I said, I taught myself everything I know. YouTube University, shout out to YouTube. But so we actually end up getting a camera, and then we got the photo booth. We started renting out photo booths.
Okay. But that's kind of cool, man. The fact that your wife actually was a wedding photographer, she kind of put the camera down. Now, did she assist in anything, or did you kind of catch up, where she left off as far as where she was?
Yeah, I pretty much just caught up where she left off with little small gigs here and there. But like I said, I really kind of wanted to just take it. I mean, she did it well. She did it, but kind of like on an amateur level.
Right.
So I kind of took it to the next level when it came to image processing, photo editing, really diving deep into the craft of photography and trying to teach myself my lane, which is wedding photography, because that's what,
Correct.
That's my forte, so to speak. I do studio photography as well. But yeah, but back to the beginning. So she seen the photo booth ad and like, hey, let's add this to our photography, repertoire. Renting out photo booth, they go hand in hand. So we end up flying out to Vegas, dropping somebody on some photo booths, and came back here, and that's actually been a hit. The photo booth service, the photography, the videography, we just kind of grew on that. So that's just one of our streams of income.
Wow. Now, and you say one stream, which is important. So you are still technically full-time employee somewhere. Yes. So talk about that and how you make it balanced, because I think that's very important.
Yeah. So I got 3 jobs. One, I'm a firefighter paramedic in Flowood. Been there about 14 years. Okay. 2, and I own Firelenz Photography. And 3, I manage my brother-in-law's tree service company. He owns T Tree Service, and he does really well. I manage all the. I pretty much, keep it going. Like right. I bid the jobs, I schedule the jobs, I collect on the jobs, I manage the crew, make sure they take the right equipment, do the job the way, I bid it to be done, and I just kind of manage all that, contracts and insurances and stuff like that. I do all that.
So you're basically operations manager.
Basically.
Right.
Yes.
So, and the thing I want to talk about with that is, you talked about how the Firelenz came about. The name Firelenz. I know you're a firefighter and you take the lens, so kind of briefly tell us how that name kind of gelled.
Yeah, so just sitting down with some scratch paper at the beginning stages of all this, man, I got the idea. I need a catchy name. I need something that's me. I've been a fireman since I was 18 years old, so that's, at heart, I'm still a fireman.
Yes.
So I want to incorporate that. So that's why I got the symbol from the flame with the aperture lens in the middle, Firelenz. I do firefighting. I do pictures.
Wow, that's what's up, man. So how long has Firelenz been established?
About 5 years.
5 years.
Well, almost 6 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
6 years. So let me ask this question. So how does being your own boss differ from being an employee? Because I think a lot of people kind of get it twisted. They think that when I'm my own boss, I get to dictate and order people around. But essentially, they don't understand that you're responsible for all the operations now. Yeah. So talk about that so people can be clear. When you're ready to step out the porch, it's the porch. So
I'll give this advice to anybody. If you're ready to take that step into entrepreneurship, you must be serious about it. You got to be a driven person. You can't be a procrastinator, because you procrastinate, you don't eat. You remember? Because you can't. You can procrastinate at your 9 to 5 and still get a paycheck.
Absolutely.
But if you procrastinate on closing this deal or getting this contract or whatever your job may be, and you don't get paid off of that, then you don't eat.
Exactly.
And your bills that you have for this business also don't get paid. So now you not only do you not have food, you're late on your bills. So it just takes a responsible person, and you have to know that going into it. Like, either if I'm not a responsible person, let me develop these qualities before I just take the jump and quit my job and do this full time.
Right, or shadow somebody.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't use their occupation, their job, as an opportunity to learn. They look at it as, hey, get up, got to be here at 8 or 9, take my lunch, leave, and that's it. But you have the opportunity. You have a pay. It's almost like, think about it as a paid internship versus just a job, especially if it's in the field that you want to be in.
Exactly.
So, I don't know if you have aspirations to become a captain. You may already be one, but you don't learn the techniques of putting out fire. You're learning how to manage the people around you just because you're there. Take advantage of those opportunities. So if you do want to lead your own crew, have your own business, you'll know exactly either what to do or what not to do. I tell people all the time, one thing I learned about my dad, he was good at, he showed me what not to do. And therefore, there's no beef with him, because it's like, okay, I know if I don't do this, I'll be okay. And I just got to figure out the rest. So take what you have and make the best of it. So,
and I would say this: a lot of people, when it comes to, they may be good at a particular skill, but not necessarily understand how to run a business.
There you go.
Because I run into a lot of people. Even on a small scale, and I ask them simple questions. Okay, you make T-shirts. Vinyl T-shirts, any little side business, it doesn't matter what it is, but the same principles apply. I was like, okay, well, how much money you make off each shirt? If you can't immediately tell me that, then you have a problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you haven't done the research. You haven't done the groundwork, the legwork. You just jumped out there thinking that you're going to, if I sell a shirt, I'll make money.
Right.
But did you take into account how much the vinyl costs for the shirt, how much the T-shirt costs, and then time? They never put time
You
as a
have to
factor
put time.
in your business.
You have to put time.
The same time as money is a real thing.
It is. It is. People, and that's the thing, you know, people don't understand the concept of time. Everybody's so tied up with money. That's like, I make the analogy often that time, money is like a craftsman tool set because money is a tool.
Yeah, it is.
And you have to graduate. As a business owner, you graduate and you realize that money is a tool. It's not the actual goal. So when you need $100,000 piece of equipment to make tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars, you don't blink an eye spending that purchase because you know it's an investment.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they grind and spend time for money, but guess what? All that grinding, you going to buy these cars and these Jordans that the dope boys had when you grew up and you wanted to be like them. Man, you can't get the time back. And think about this on time. When they got the dope boy, they went to jail. Guess what they threatened him with? Time.
Yeah. Time is money.
Time is it. Time is the only luxury. Per Kanye West, and he was absolutely right. So you hit something right on the head when you talk about the numbers. You know, people, you know, selling printing T-shirts. They don't know the cost of the materials. They don't know the time that's incorporated with it because you need to be paid for your time. You talked about the landscaping and tree service that you have. So with that being said, when you have to bid those items, you bid them by man hours. Yeah. You know, and
that's exactly right.
Right. So
I tell people all the time. They was like, "Well, how much for this tree?" I said, "Well, you know," they're like, "Where you get that number from?" I said, "It's about how long it's going to take me to get it done." You know, the manpower, the equipment is, you know, we pretty much use the same equipment on every job.
Right.
But when I look at a job on a grand scale, I'm looking at how much time it's going to take me to complete it. You know, because I know I can do it. You know, I know there's not a problem with unless you have something that's complex and we have to add a little more elements into it.
Correct.
But other than that, I tell people it's from a time standpoint. If you got a tree set in the middle of a field, it's not going to take me as long as the tree is hanging over your house. Correct. So that tree hanging over your house might be the same size, but it's going to cost you more.
Man, that is a production because you got to make sure it don't go into your living room.
Exactly.
So having that concept of time is very important, and also the numbers. You talked about breaking that down as far as like materials and stuff like that. A lot of people that are aspiring to be entrepreneurs, I always say this: people take care of their business like they take care of their business, and I mean this by house business. You know, you talked about still having full-time job and being a managing partner with your brother's business and also running this. One thing you have to understand is that household, you know, that people call it the nut, you know, what it takes to operate. A lot of people don't know their own numbers. Nah, they don't. If you ask most people right now how much it takes to operate their own household monthly, they don't have a clue. So now you think about jumping off the porch just because there's a lot of money in the system right now that you can get by either making T-shirts or things like that and not calculating the cost that's ever rising. You're not accounting for it. You don't have advertising built in. You don't have none of that stuff. But then you got your wife at home. You got your kids. Still got to eat. You still got to maintain that lifestyle at the house. So I admire the fact that you got a lot of things going because a lot of people don't take in consideration what it takes to hop out there because you almost need, you know, 6 to 12 months worth of income at the house stacked up before you hop out the porch on a new venture simply because, man, we in the middle of it. If you watched yesterday, I want to say Dow Jones dropped, 1,200 points? Yeah. I mean, you know, we're on the way to something, you know, and that's not being pessimistic. That's just reading the writings on the wall. So,
it's reading the writing.
I mean, just reading the writing. So, now, let me ask you this. Now, we go to this part. Talk about the transition. Now, I always talk about this transition, and I reference Michael Jordan. If anybody knows Michael Jordan had a sweet jumper in the beginning. I mean, he won a national championship with a jumper. I think he's advanced to several rounds of the playoffs and hit several buzzer beaters. But Michael Jordan was a dunking machine in the beginning of his career. Now, he always, you know, he laced a few dunks, you know, just to let you know he could. But I referenced the fadeaway from 9 to 5 to owning your own business to Jordan's game. Jordan, you know, his back down fadeaway was butter. Even Kobe the same way. Even when his, you know, rest in peace, even when his, you know, extremities started to give away on him, his fadeaway jumper game was there. You knew it was there. So I always reference that and compare that to fading away from corporate America to 9 to 5 until having your own business. So describe that process of, you know, what it takes as far as knowing your numbers at home, knowing what you have to have, saving enough, and then like you said, being an entrepreneur, being a grinder, and making sure that ball keeps rolling?
So for me, a big thing is my schedule. Obviously, I got 3 jobs. I'm trying to manage all of them. I have an itinerary, a schedule on my calendar in my phone, and it's labeled fire station days. It's labeled every other day I have for photography. That down to the hours of the days. Like if you don't have a schedule, and I would tell anybody that like I scream this multiple streams of income. So if you don't have to quit your 9 to 5 to be a successful entrepreneur, then I would say keep that job, but just put the same amount of effort or more into your own business.
There you go.
Because if you gonna grind for this corporate America and not grind for yourself, then you got your priorities mixed up.
Absolutely.
So me, I'm a firefighter. I do it very well. I got 15 years experience. I'm a lieutenant paramedic. So I've exceeded the mediocrity of just being base level. So, but I put that same passion into my own.
Absolutely.
What I built from the ground up, Firelenz Photography, from me scribbling the name on the paper and doodling the logo, like I built that. So now I'm in the process of just continuing to hone in my craft and get better. Like I had a client tell me, like, man, your pictures are getting better and better. I'm like, yeah, because I want my next pick to be my best pick.
Absolutely.
The next picture I take, I want it to be my best picture. Like that's the same mentality you should have no matter what you do as an entrepreneur. If you're not striving to be the best at it, not saying that you care about being the best at it, but having the mentality will help you be good at it. Will help you be successful. I mean, my morning routine when I get up and I'm headed maybe home from one of my other jobs, I got Eric Thomas on my Pandora, getting my morning motivation, getting my mind right, getting my energy drink, and we're ready to go.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this, man. When does your day start as an entrepreneur?
My day starts pretty much when I wake up. If I wake up, I check my emails first thing in the morning. I'm responding to emails probably while I'm brushing my teeth. So I'm checking my emails, my throw me a little advertising out there, on social media, and then checking my schedule, getting my crew set up because they run every day, Monday through Friday.
Right.
Although I don't work with them Monday through Friday, I still manage them from afar, remotely. So I get up every morning, I get up my work phone, I get my personal phone, and I'm sending the guys their addresses, their jobs, what they need for the job, while I'm responding to emails from my own personal business, while I'm probably at my other job. So it can get hectic, but being driven to be successful is what drives me.
So you talking 4 or 5 in the morning most of the time?
Yeah, at 6. Let's say 6.
Okay, I mean 6 is reasonable, but it's not 7:30, 8. I mean, because man, that's one thing about being your own boss. Yeah. It starts early because of the time aspect. You have to respect that time because you only have the same 24 as everybody else.
Exactly.
And once it goes away, it goes away. You can try to leverage that through employees, but still. So, but man, that's very powerful. That you even need motivation. We all need motivation.
Oh, yeah.
And even having this conversation is motivating to understand time. Yeah. And what you said also that was key was, put just as much effort into yours, if not more.
Yeah, why would you not?
Well, why would you not? Yeah. At the same time, you're getting paid for the time you're spending at that employer's place of business. So respect that. Give them, if you're going to give them time to get paid for it, give them the time they deserve. Yeah. But it's time. And at the end of the day, you have kids, I have kids. We got to find a way to spend time with them also.
Exactly.
We talking trips.
No matter how much money you make, if you can spend time with their family, they're not going to be happy.
You can't. Happy. Exactly. I mean,
you got to figure it out. As a man, you got to figure it out.
You got to figure it out. And every day we trying to figure out. You married, and you figuring it out, spending quality time with your wife, all that stuff. And she's behind you because you have a plan of action, because you're making sure everything gets taken care of. So, big information, big time on that. Again, Firelenz Photography.
Get it off your mind before you become a wreck. It's time to get it off your chest.
All right, man. This is my favorite part of the episode where we get it off our chest. We talk about anything that's a pressing issue, whether that's society, whether that's something you come across on social media, whether that's something that's on your mind, what's been digging on you, or what is it something that you got to get off so you can breathe better.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is what I talked about earlier. Is just people not understanding their business when they get into the business.
Right.
The numbers. The numbers have to make sense. I was talking to a buddy of mine. He's also a photographer. Pretty good guy. But I was telling him he's good. He's a good people person too. He just lacked a little bit when it comes to knowing the numbers and why. Because his prices did not reflect the man hours he had into his job.
Wow.
So I'm like, hey, bro. I mean, although we're quote unquote competition, but like there's enough people to take pictures of, so we're not competition. We're in this together.
Correct.
So I was like, hey man, somebody had to tell me this at one point in time, so I'm gonna tell you, you're too cheap. And I say this because as a photographer, I know what you have into this. If you go to a photo shoot, do you count your gas getting there? Do you count preparation before? Do you count the time you shoot it? Do you count the time you edit? Do you count the time you deliver it? I said because I think he was like $65 a shoot.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like,
How?
yeah, exactly. I said,
How?
I asked, where do you get that number from? Because if you put the hours in that you have into these shoots and the drive time and location and wear and tear, I said you don't even make minimum wage.
Correct.
Like you like $7 an hour
Correct.
if you do the math. So tell me where you get these numbers from, and it was simply that he just didn't understand the numbers. So I'm like, you have to know your words because he's a good photographer. He's just as good as I am. But our price points were so different.
Right.
And he was like, man, I had 50 shoots this month. I said, how much money did you make? And it was nowhere near what I made, and I may have had 10.
Correct.
You see what I'm saying? But I told him because we had the same issue, like me and you. He had kids at home. He got a wife. I said, I know that you're not home with them. I know you're not.
It's got to be worth it. It's got to be worth
It's got to be worth it. I said, why are you scared to increase your price? You're scared to increase your price because you think you lose business. I said, you won't lose business. I said, if you could do a third of the work and make the same money or more, why would you not?
It's called efficiency.
Yeah, you're being efficient. You're being efficient, and you know your worth. Because, like I try to tell them, like you don't want to be known as that good, cheap photographer. Because good and cheap should not be in the same sentence.
No.
So that's one of the things I see a lot, and it irks me because I am a photographer, and I see people just not getting their worth. I see, like, I'm not a hater. Like, I see really good photographers, like really way better than me, and their price points don't match their work. I'm like, bro, you can get way more money for what you're doing. But in their mind, oh, I made $75 on this shoot. Yeah, but how much time? How much time did you put into that? Because I can see the level of editing that you put on this photo. So that lets me know that you spent at least an hour with this person. You probably were there helping them even get the concept together, which should be another fee.
Consultation, right.
Then you went there and you edited it and you retouched and you blemish control and you color graded. Like, so I can see the extensive steps that you put into these images, and I see your posted prices, and they don't go together. So from a time standpoint, you're minimum wage. You could have stayed at your 9 to 5.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Exactly. So, I mean,
just don't understand business.
right. And I would say on the flip side of that, for me, my get it off my chest moment is that from a consumer standpoint, when somebody explains why their price is their price, you have an executive decision to make.
Yeah.
If you don't want to pay, just say I don't want to pay. But you can't say that somebody's work is not worth what it is or what's not, because
Yeah.
somebody's work is worth what somebody's willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
That's how value is assessed, what somebody's willing to pay for it. Like if I laid my wedding ring down on this table and somebody says, I'm going to give you $1.5 million for it.
Then they got them in the wedding ring.
You can say whatever you want to, where I got my ring from, where my wife bought it from, whatever. At that moment in time, it was worth $1.5 million. So with that being said, everybody's always trying to be cheap. So
What they want to be cheap with.
with what they want to be cheap with. And here's this. If you working this 9 to 5, 9 times out of 10, a lot of people that have stayed on their jobs and done what they need to do have gotten raises. do not expect not to pay your raise back into what's going on because you have a cost of living raise. Everything around you is going up. Now, it's your job to vet out what is, if the service is, great and what it needs to be versus, being mediocre. You have to do that. But if somebody like Andrew has a price set up and he can break down and justify where every dollar goes, respect it. Respect the time. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, we can't get time back. If you miss your appointment, don't ask for my bad. Yeah. That's on you. You set that time up. You paid that deposit. If things happen, so be it. He may have things set aside in his verbiage that may cover things like that. But if you pay for a full-blown visit and you miss that time, you miss time. Yeah. Because that's time he was there waiting on you and something happened and it didn't work out. So, man.
People just don't value time.
They have to.
And they don't respect your worth. Like you said, respect the worth. If he says this costs this much, if this photo session gonna cost this much, then either you can still respect the worth and respectfully decline.
Yes.
Because it doesn't mean it's not worth it. It just means it's not in your budget, apparently.
Correct. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's what shopping is. Whether you get a dress from Target, whether you get a dress from, Saks, Fifth Avenue, whatever you call it. So that's what it is. So any parting words for Firelenz Photography?
Man, I just say as far as entrepreneurship goes, just know your numbers, do your research, consider multiple streams of income. Before you take that leap of faith, understand where you're jumping.
Yes. Yes, and a lot of, sanctimonious people may say, man, it's not faith if you think about where you're jumping. Man, one thing about faith is faith deals with the impossible. But God gives you the ability to deal with the possible. You can plan. Who goes to war without counting the cost? Yeah. Who does that? Yeah. So with that being said, you can still be strategic in what's going on. So it's not all about just, going out here blindly and doing things.
The key word is be strategic. Like, to be strategic, there has to be a plan of action that's set in place to where you've done your research.
Absolutely.
You've counted the costs. And once you do that, then you can make an educated decision of whether this is for you or should I wait.
Absolutely. And I would say this in part, if you're thinking about making an entrepreneurial jump, I would say do it. And I would say this, especially if you got kids, because if you got kids, one day they're going to ask you why you didn't. And that's going to be a tough conversation. Yeah. Man, you had all this time, Dad. You made all this money. You had all these things going on. So what happened?
Yeah.
So.
And entrepreneurship just opens up so many more doors because, like, I have a regular job also. And I can tell you, once I got into entrepreneurship and working for myself and making my own money, it was a lot different than that check I got every 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
A lot different. I mean, one day's worth of work is worth it's the 2 weeks worth of pay over there.
Absolutely. Especially when you got, tax people in place and stuff like that and the codes. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole nother episode and all that.
Yeah, it's a whole nother.
Everybody's out here trying to scam the government with the PPP and all this stuff like that. Well, the tax codes let you pretty much do what you want to do.
If you understood how to do your taxes,
right,
you understood how it works, you wouldn't need all that.
You wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
You would think if you knew what the tax code was, you would think it was a scam.
Yeah.
That's how good it is.
Yeah.
So, but Firelenz Photography, Andrew, thank you again. Honors to your wife. In her absence, she's a backbone in this also too. Sure. Where can they find you?
Man, FireLenzPhotography.com. You can find me at Firelenz Photography on Instagram and Firelenz Photography on Facebook.
That's it, man. He's got some shoots also. Everything was great with that, man. Great experience with him. I've done business with him before, so this is not impromptu. Like I said, he's got all kind of work everywhere. He's on the way. So thank y'all for joining in this episode. letters@qc-podcast.com. Leave us some feedback if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or some content you would like to hear about. We'd love to put it out there. This is Super Real Grande, and this is the Quality Control Podcast.